Ready?
How can you think that, Sandy? How can you think that?
I wanna step out in a world that's brighter. We are the people of tomorrow. We stand together, raise our hands up.
You know I love a game.
Oh, don't. Yeah, I know what's coming.
So I'm going to read off a set of statements or opinion statements, and then
Okay.
you have your handy card ready at the ready.
I've got them at the ready.
Yes, if you agree, obviously flash your agree sign, and disagree, and we'll see if we agree or disagree.
Okay, let's go.
So,
Be gentle.
all right. Well, can't promise that, but okay. So number one, let's say the England lockdown will end on the 2nd of December, which is the 4-week period. Ready?
How can you think that, Sandy? How can you think that?
Well, okay. So we disagree on this, but so for me, I think they're just so adamant about it really ending and then potentially announcing. Obviously, I still think there will be restrictions in place, but I know it's all up. There's so much uncertainty, and it's tied to the numbers of how the virus is doing and hospitalization, all that, to make it safe, obviously. But I think we will release it.
You think just before Christmas for us to have a bit of joy back in our lives? I mean, I would love for that to happen, but I see this. Yeah, fingers crossed. I see this lockdown surely just slightly different, right? Like there's less fear involved, and so there's more activity happening. You know, more people are on the fringes of those guidelines that the government is giving to us. The kids are back at school. Like it is slightly different. You know, those restaurants that were closed now have takeaway and pickup, and so because of that, I think it's not as severe. The lockdown isn't as severe, and so because of that, they'll maintain that. And they'll really want to push us through Christmas and get us to a good place in the spring. I think what you're also going to see, which is important to note, is that rising, case rate, the rising admissions to hospital, and of course the death rate. So I don't think we're going to really see the impact of where we are today until about December 22nd, or 2nd.
So mine is wishful thinking. I know. I'm trying to will it into the universe, Ian.
Yeah. I know. But I think it goes back to what I said before, Sandy, that this is here for good, right? And we as a society need to learn how to live with it, right? And I think the sooner we get closer to that, the sooner retailers respond to that notion that it's here to stay and that there's new behaviors, and this has accelerated us, 10 years into the future, from where we were at the beginning of 2020. They'll start to deal with it, address it, and our lives will come back to a different normal.
I'm editing this video a week after my chat with Ian, and look at this throng of people out and about during the first lockdown weekend. I see that COVID fatigue has certainly set in, and I'm leaning more towards Ian's view now.
And I know we're belaboring this point, but I think the furlough scheme extension through March is a signal of the duration potentially.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. The government is planning for that, but I think as well it gives confidence. It gives confidence to all businesses, not just retailers, about the support that the government is going to give, and that's great because it helps them plan. Right? It helps them plan and think strategically, right? And I know we talk about this, how far in the future is strategically and how far is tactically. And you said before, it's kind of, we still need to think tactically and strategically. But I think that gives a lot of confidence in where we're going, and will allow people to plan, allow retailers to plan, individuals to plan. It's just really important that the government, rather than changing so quickly, constantly changing where people can't plan, is super frustrating. I think they've done a good step forward here in confirming that to the end of March.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to next statement. So much of Europe is now in a second lockdown. So it's not just England, right?
Yep.
So here's the statement. The lockdown will not be as bad this time around for the retail industry. As the first one. Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, as you laid it out at the beginning, much more planning has happened. We've lived through the first one. We've gotten a lot of the processes in place and how to approach it. So I think it's about building, learning, adapting.
100%. And they're building on the lessons they learned very quickly. Certainly from the side, I just got off a call this morning where one of our clients was talking about moving stock, right? And moving stock out of their stores and getting it into a warehouse where they could access it. And because of what they had in place before, the partnerships they had in place from the first lockdown, they were able to move very quickly, rather than trying to figure out where that extra warehouse was going. They already had that relationship built up. And so they shifted their stock, a lot of stock from 100 stores into one warehouse, within a week. And so I think they've learned quickly, and responding quickly and using what they had set up before to help them through this next phase.
Yeah, and then just from a demand perspective, I think people have obviously just shifted their consumption online or supporting local businesses or whatever it is. Obviously, it's still depressed demand, but I think this time around, people are still spending, but that's
yeah. 100%. I think your observation of shifting demand and where we buy and how much we buy, I think we've all as individuals have reflected, do I really need that? And we're all trying to be our best selves, right?
Okay. Excuse my looks. I'm just, in the middle of hitting rock bottom. But I found my goal list that I made in December for my goals for 2020. Okay. Tell me if this is not hilarious. All right. Goal 1, make more money. I was, been unemployed since March. Travel more. Lose weight. Be more social. I wrote cry less. I've cried every single day of this whole pandemic. Spend more time.
We're certainly understanding, I think this is a huge rise, maybe we'll come on to it later, but you mentioned it there, the local shopping and community, and what a great thing, right? We before COVID came in, we were all talking about the death of the high street, right? And I think this is a great opportunity for us to shift that trend, devote our dollars to the high street to keep our communities vibrant and healthy and, exciting places to be and go and socialize and entertain ourselves and do all those things. And certainly from where I'm at, I see a huge shift towards that. We're talking about in the past, local community brands trying to act big, act national. We're doing the exact opposite now. We're talking to our national brands and asking them to act locally, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many strategies there that can do that, which are amazing, I think.
Yeah, and it's also where we're spending our time, just because we can't go anywhere. So yeah, it's definitely going to continue to be a source of where we buy things, where we meet with other people, hopefully soon. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and just to come in, there's a lot of great initiatives. And I recently saw one where, a lot of local retailers have used this time to make partnerships and integrate themselves on a wider community. And I don't know if you saw the recent app that went out that allowed you to access your local bookshops and purchase from them. That's a industry which was, going to the cliff's edge and, combining their efforts together and has really given a lot of life to them and seeing the potential there. Like, what a great thing. Why just default to Amazon all the time? Here's another way to work at it. So I think, they've used that time wisely to prepare that, and they saw a future that involved a wider network that they had to kind of bring together to enable themselves to reach their customers.
Yeah, and just on that, I saw in France there's backlash against Amazon, rightly so, given for a lot of reasons. But right now they're also in lockdown, and I have to look up who said it, but it was some statement around, if you want your local bookstores to survive, buy from them, don't buy from Amazon. And it was coming from the government. So it's a bold move to say that, but it's needed to support the local economy.
I think it is. So I'm encouraged by that, because living, working, purchasing in your community and your neighborhood, that's a very powerful new behavior that I personally enjoy.
Money work. El mundo quiere dinero. Money work. Se arregla con dinero. Money work. Si me quiero educar.